Good morning. I'm very grateful for your presence this morning. I'd like to acknowledge FEMA Deputy Regional Administrator Kevin Sly, Cook County Emergency Management and Regional Security Executive Director Bill Barnes, Chief Mitchell Davis of the Hazel Crest Police Department, Chief Kevin Welsh of the Glenwood Fire Department, Chief Mike Jones of the Mattison Police Department, Chief Sean Staples of the South Holland Police Department, and Chief Bill Alcott of the Homewood Police Department. I'd also like to acknowledge Donna Stanton and Walter Matthews, who are our sign language interpreters. One more time, good morning. Good morning. Again, I'd like to thank Kevin Sly, Deputy Regional Administrator of FEMA Region 5, and Bill Barnes, Executive Director of the Cook County's Department of Emergency Management and Regional Security, for joining me today. We're here this morning with some of Cook County's finest, our first responders. These are the men and women who routinely put their safety aside to literally save lives. Standing with me today are a number of our first responders, and I want to thank you all for your service to our residents. These are the people who run toward the gunfire, into the fires, and to the injured and sick. Over the past month, we've had to deal with an additional hazard, one that we would not have imagined a few months ago. While so many in our community are coping with staying at home in order to remain safe, our firefighters, paramedics, and police officers do not have that option. We have a responsibility to do all that we can to provide them with the tools they need to stay safe. In an age of COVID-19, these tools are personal protective equipment like N95 masks. And that's why we're here today. The boxes behind me contain a sample of the 240,000 N95 masks donated to us by the U.S. Department of Defense in coordination with the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Because of these masks, our first responders will have a critical layer of protection against the virus and will be able to continue to safeguard us all. I'd also like to thank the staff of our Department of Emergency Management and Regional Security, who are working with every municipality throughout Cook County to make sure this personal protective equipment gets into the hands of our first responders. They're working behind the scenes, planning and coordinating our response to the pandemic. Through their efforts, we've distributed 700,000, that's 700,000 pieces of personal protective equipment to our first responders. At the beginning of this year, most of us had no idea that a mask could literally be the difference between life and death. But today, that's our reality. We have an obligation to come together as a community and as one Cook County to fight this pandemic with everything we have. Our first responders are doing their part. Our county agencies are doing their part. Our partners at FEMA are doing their part as well. I ask our residents to continue to do their part and continue social distancing and staying at home. It's working. Let's keep it up. And now it's my pleasure to ask FEMA Deputy Regional Administrator Kevin Sly to say a few words. Kevin?
Thank you, Madam President. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Kevin Sly, Deputy Regional Administrator at the FEMA Region 5 office based in Chicago. I want to first thank Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle and Executive Director Bill Barnes for having me join them today to talk about the whole of America response to combat the COVID-19 pandemic. Our team remains committed to getting critical equipment and supplies to the communities that it needs most. With this goal in mind, FEMA has been expediting the movement of commercially pre-sourced and commercially procured critical supplies from the global market to medical distributors across the United States through what we're calling Project Airbridge. In just 2 short weeks, this coordinated effort has completed 37 flights with an additional 43 scheduled, totaling approximately 80 flights. Project Airbridge has ensured critical healthcare supplies are getting to communities that need them the most, including here in Cook County. This morning, thanks to this coordinated effort, we've been able to deliver to your community over 240,000 N95 masks that are being distributed specifically for police and fire in the Cook County area outside the city of Chicago. And we know there's more work to be done. Our agency's mission is helping people before, during, and after disasters, and we remain fully committed to doing just that goal in the weeks and months ahead. So I'd like to take the opportunity to welcome up Mr. Bill Barnes, Cook County EMRS.
Good morning. I can't tell you how pleased I am to have Board President Tony Preckwinkle here at the Cook County Emergency Readiness Center. Madam President, on behalf of my department, I want to thank you for your steadfast leadership throughout this pandemic. It's also my pleasure to welcome FEMA Region 5 Deputy Regional Administrator Kevin Sly. In this pandemic, an old adage rings true. It takes a village. The scope of this disaster means the county can't go it alone. Our partners in this fight are absolutely vital in ensuring the county's success in responding to this pandemic. I want to express my heartfelt appreciation to FEMA for this shipment of PPE. It will have an immediate and positive impact on our first responders' ability to do their jobs safely and effectively. I also want to acknowledge not just the first responders who are here standing with us today, but also those working in the communities all over the county right now. Standing with us, we have Chief Mitchell Davis, Hazel Crest PD, Chief Kevin Welsh, Glenwood Fire, Chief Mike Jones, Matson Police, Chief Sean Staples, South Holland Police, and Chief Bill Alcott, Homewood Police. Thank you to you all for your service and dedication to our residents during this most trying time. Over the past decade, Cook County's Department of Emergency Management and Regional Security has deployed to hundreds, if not thousands, of incidents from this very building. The department has become accustomed to responding to floods, power outages, and providing support to planned events and emergencies. But today, we aren't deploying generators. We're not sending out pumps. We will not be mobilizing our mobile equipment to the field. Today, the life-saving equipment we are providing, thanks to our partners at FEMA, are much smaller, but just as powerful, if not more so. The 240,000 N95 masks we will be distributing to the police and fire are designed to protect them while they protect us. Our logistics section at EMRS is working to distribute this critical PPE to personnel at 124 fire departments and 144 police departments in suburban Cook County. This is in addition to almost 700,000 individual personal protective equipment we've distributed over the past month. The Department of Emergency Management and Regional Security is working to ensure that our battle against COVID-19 is a successful one. We have trained for this. We have exercised for this. And while we never imagined a global pandemic of this scope and scale, we know that with President Preckwinkle's leadership and with partners at the local, state, and federal level, we will prevail. So without further ado, I will announce Chief Mitchell Davis, Hazel Crest Police, for a few remarks. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, President Preckwinkle. FEMA, just want to take a couple moments to speak on behalf of not necessarily just the Hazel Crest Police Department. I also serve as the president of the South Suburban Association of Chiefs of Police. And the importance of PPE, the president already talked about it. We don't have a choice as to who we serve, and we have no problem at all with that. But in doing so, the one thing that we can control is making ourselves safe. And the one way that we can make ourselves safe in this particular incident is through PPE. Now, sometimes I call being in the south suburbs and in the Chicagoland area both a curse and a blessing. The blessing is being in a major metropolitan area, we receive all the benefits that come along with being part of this area. But oftentimes, the suburbs are not given the resources that are sometimes sent to the city of Chicago. But President Preckwinkle and Cook County have been the great equalizers in all this. They've made sure that the suburbs have been given equipment, and equitably given equipment, because the Southland collectively faces the same challenges that the city of Chicago does. But from an economic standpoint, the Southland does not have all the resources of not just Chicago, but our northern and western suburban counterparts. So I'd like to thank the president and for the county departments for making sure that the Southland is equitably being distributed PPE so that we can make sure that our officers are safe. Once again, it's been a pleasure to be here. I represent the South Suburban Association of Chiefs of Police as the president, and I want to thank Director Yu and FEMA and for our president for making sure that we're equitably receiving equipment. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief, for those heartfelt remarks. Appreciate that. Next up, Chief Kevin Welsh, Glenwood Fire.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you very much to the President for having us here today. I stand before you as the President of MABUS Division 24, as well as the Fire Chief for the Village of Glenwood, which I've been for 25 years. I've never experienced anything like this, but I believe that I speak for all the chiefs in my division that we are all drawing upon experiences of the past, which lead us to a successful event as we move through this pandemic. We couldn't do that without the partnerships we've established over these years. Most notably, Cook County, the Cook County Department of Homeland Security. Our partnership with them is second to none, and we want to thank you for that. I believe that our success would have paled in comparison to other areas if it weren't for the continued support of IEMA, of FEMA, the state, the federal assets, need to keep coming. And I do echo Chief Mitchell Davis's comments that we in the Southland sometimes get forgotten, but in this particular case, we're in the forefront, and we thank you for keeping us in that forefront. So I stand before you today representing over 500 firefighters that serve, firefighter paramedics and EMTs that serve in this Southland region. And I believe I can speak for the other MABUS division presidents when I say, thank you. The distribution is taking place as I speak, and we're going to get that out to our people who are the first boots on the ground and going into these homes that we don't know if they're infected people there, if the surfaces are clean or dirty. We have to continue to do that job, as Chief Davis said. And we're going to need to continue this effort, not just today, but to the end of this pandemic, and we're going to have to get better prepared as we move forward. So thank you for the continued support. We offer our support as we have to Cook County Department of Homeland Security. We're in this together, and we're going to get through this together. Everybody go home and wash your hands. Thank you.
Thanks for those kind words, Chief. Next up, Chief Mike Jones, Matson Police, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Michael Jones, Madison Police Department. We're often referred to as the boots on the ground, and today these masks are our boots. They're probably one of the most vital pieces of equipment and tools that we need, and often as smaller agencies, especially in a corridor that has been hit so hard by this pandemic, it is difficult for us to get these resources. So we depend on our big brothers and sisters under the leadership of Cook County Board President Preckwinkle and FEMA to assist us in getting those resources, because I want to point out these are not just protecting the first responders. These are also protecting their families. These are protecting the residents to eliminate the spread and contamination that this disease is bringing us. So this is magnified across our whole area, and we would not be able to do this without you. Thank you for letting us serve and continue to help our residents get through this. Thank you.
Again, I want to thank Regional Administrator Sly. Thank you. I want to thank Bill Barnes, our Director of our Department of Emergency Management and Regional Security, and all of our first responders who joined us today. I'm very grateful. All right, Nick, do we have anybody on the phone? We do. All right, who's here? Do we have any questions? Do we have any questions from the folks on the phone?
Yes, hi. This is Rachel from the Sun-Times.
Yes, Rachel.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hi.
thank you.
Can you, I guess, give us an idea of where this shipment of N95 masks came from?
I'd ask Regional Administrator Sly to come to the microphone.
Good morning. I hear the question is specifically where did the masks come from? They came from a location from overseas, and they were flown into this area, and it was distributed, we believe, through the McKesson Foundation and actually divvied out to Cook County.
And I know the county is giving out N95 masks, but is there anything else that's being distributed today?
Bill Barnes?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. We will be distributing largely the 240,000 N95 masks, but that is to supplement and complement the distribution of a wide range of PPE, personal protective equipment that we've been engaged in for the past month. That includes hair covers, booties for the feet, protective gowns, impermeable gowns, gloves, eye shields, safety goggles, and the like. But today's focus will be largely on N95 masks.
Thank you. And I guess can you also maybe talk about what this means for the county's reserves or stockpile of PPE?
Bill?
Great question. We have a reserve of personal protective equipment that we continue to replenish through a variety of sources. Those are through donations, through purchases, through the local cash. But I can honestly say that the 240,000 masks that we received from FEMA, by and large, exceeds any influx that we've had. So this just supplements our local reserves.
Thank you.
All right, Rachel, any more questions?
No, I think that's it.
Yep.
All right.
This is Craig Dellamore from BBM Radio.
Yes, Craig.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Craig, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Can you give us a sense of where the entire health system is standing right now when it comes to PPE, and for that matter, the patient load?
I can't speak to that. Bill, do you want to try?
Hi, this is Bill Barnes from Cook County EMRS. I can't speak to the patient load. I can speak to the fact that we are in constant communication with the Cook County Health System regarding their PPE needs, and when they identify needs, they pass them to us, and we source them as best possible given our current reserves. When we don't have equipment on hand, we send that up to the state to have them provided at that level, and then even further up to the federal level. From a patient load standpoint, I can't speak to individual hospitals. I know that Illinois Department of Public Health and the Cook County Department of Public Health are working with the regional healthcare coalitions to track bed capacity throughout the county, surge capacity, and ensure that hospitals around the region, 60-plus hospitals in the county, have the resources and manpower they need to respond to the pandemic.
All right, Craig, do you have any more questions?
Hi, I know that.
All right, okay.
Mike Nova, Davie, Southtown.
Yes, Mike?
Yes, can you just say how are the masks being distributed? Are police and fire departments probably to one central location in Antelope Forest? Pick them up.
All right, Bill, you want to talk about distribution?
Okay, I didn't hear the question exactly, but what I can say is that we have received resource requests from municipalities throughout the county, north, central, and south, for individual resources such as personal protective equipment. We are in the process of dividing up this very large cache of masks, and we will be apportioning it out in an equitable manner to those municipalities and local units of government and their police and fire departments to ensure that we can meet their needs as best possible given the limited nature of the supply. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. Do you know how long that distribution process will take?
I anticipate that it will take 2 days.
Thank you.
All right, is there anyone on the phone besides Rachel, Craig, and Mike?
Yeah, this is AD Quigg with Crane.
Yes,
I'm wondering
AD.
if the director could speak about the burn rate and the burn rate of PPE in general, and maybe give us a sense of how long it will take to get through this 240,000 N95 masks.
All right, so Bill, the question is what's the burn rate and how long will it take us to get through this cache of 240,000 N95 masks?
That's a great question. And burn rate is an individual determination by department. I know that there's guidance out there by the federal government that looks to the estimated burn rate, but I can say that that municipalities and local units of government and their first responders are doing their best to conserve their masks given the scarcity of these resources and the high demand. I can't speak as to how long these 240,000 masks will last.
All right. Could you say how long your current stockpile will last?
Meaning the 240,000?
Or all of the current PPE stockpile? I'm just trying to get a sense of how big a deal the 240 is in the grand scheme of things.
Well, I can say that in the past month and a half, we have distributed I would say between 150 and 200,000 masks. So we are far exceeding that in this one distribution at 240,000.
Thank you. Could you give a sense of how much you've been paying for PPE? Like, are you paying $3 a pop generally for N95 masks when you normally would be paying 70 cents or $1?
I don't have visibility on exactly what we are paying per mask. I know that there are some, the prices vary widely depending on who you're dealing with, but I can say with certainty that the masks that we received from FEMA, we didn't have to pay a cent. So thank you, FEMA.